chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Oh my God, are you seeing this shit, bro? Tesla closed at $695. What the hell is going on?
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
Now with IBM getting here, I think it's just going to come more to the forefront, and people are going to get more and more eyeballs on Salesforce. Should see a really nice move.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
We got D's nuts in the crew. Every
Hell
crew
yeah.
needs D's nuts. You know what D's nuts' #1 holding is? Big C.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Stock Watch Sunday. My name is Brad. That guy over there is Fat Man Zoom. And Fat Man Zoom, we have got another loaded show for our peeps, our Chaos crew. What's up, my man?
Feeling good, man. After Rocket, life's all's well in life. Now, let me shout out our starting five, and we'll get into it. So, starting five, we got Steve Ames, Alan 316, Nina, Primetime DJs, and Jonathan Schreiber. Also, Justin McFall upgraded to level 2. Shout out, homie.
Hell yeah.
Today our main topic's going to be the stimulus bill. So it passed in the House. We'll get into that. We'll have our top 5 stocks, which we have some good stocks this week, some stocks we're excited about, and one that doesn't have earnings, but we're also excited about, and always the infamous cheesecloth condom.
And there is going to be a top stock that I like that's under $5 as well. So super pumped. So let's get into it. So futures are up about 1%, 0.5% to 1% so far across the board. $1.9 trillion stimulus package it just went through the House. We're still got a little bit to go. Still have to get through the Senate and all that good stuff. It includes a $1,400 stimulus check. Does not include the $15 minimum wage that they were trying to get through, which I'm still on the fence about. I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, just because of the state that small businesses are in. And then you're going to implement a $15 minimum wage. I was all right with that. So the stimulus package, my thoughts are on this, though. Futures are up, but I'm not necessarily optimistic for this week just yet, because I think that there could be more with the bond yields going up. This kind of just plays into their hand. This is, kind of just makes their case as far as, inflation's concerned, or their fears rather of inflation. And that could end up impacting it. We got non-farm payroll also reports on Friday. If that ends up blowing the expectations out of the water, that again could play into that too. What are your thoughts on it?
On non-farm payroll?
No, just the whole week in general, between that and non-farm payroll, and just how everything is looking super bullish. And here comes the bond markets, or the bond, the bonds coming in and raising rates. Yeah.
I've talked about this before. The bond markets don't change anything in my strategy.
Yeah.
As far as, I am interested in the stimulus bill, and I think what's going to be interesting to see is how this plays out in the Senate. So everybody's clear, March 14th is the date that it has to be technically passed by. Yeah. So I think it's unlikely that it'll be done this week. And to be honest, it feels like this is how I do look good. This camera angle looks good.
I told you.
I'm like in the abyss. But one of the things that we've just seen, it's kind of sad, but we've just seen it just feels like we never can get a deal done before a deadline.
Yeah.
And so hopefully things are different this time, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it to be done. I don't even know what day March 14th falls on. So is that Monday? So the first is this Monday, the following Monday then the following. Yeah. I mean, so we got 2 more weeks. Definitely not done this week.
14th is a Sunday.
No,
just kidding. 14th was this past Sunday. The month of February.
Would you say? Oh,
it is a Sunday. The March is a 14th? Sunday, so 15th is a Monday.
Will it be done before March 14th? It remains to be seen. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But what I do anticipate is more choppiness as we get, how like the jockeying happens with the news, like we're close, then we're not close, we're far apart.
Yeah.
And then I feel like even the politicians play into this, where they kind of put stuff out there like, no, we're far away, trying to get public pressure for concessions to be made. So I expect all that. So I think you just have to be on your toes out there.
So for me, I look at the bond markets as not necessarily change my strategy, because I agree with you there. The thing is just to be aware that when this happens, stocks go down. So that, in my opinion, because I'm so bullish on the market overall, I think that this is just a really good opportunity to buy up the dip.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have a lot of fear out there because of the bond markets. And it's one thing to understand how they work and how they bring down especially growth stocks in general. And that's why we've seen such a big hit on tech. But I've been loading the boat on tech, and I know that you have too, because of just the impact that it's going to have and the rate at which interest rates went up. It was super fast. This reminds me a lot of when I was working at T. Rowe Price. This happened when Trump got into office originally, and at the end of 16, beginning of 17, bond rates went through the roof within a week's time, just like it happened now. After that, it was just a crazy overreaction. I mean, we're talking about that rates have gone up over the past couple of weeks, 300% from where it was at around 0.5% to 1.5%. They might get all the way up to 2% before making a pullback. Once that pullback happens, the equities are just going to go through the roof. And so I think that when you pair that up with some of the things that I was actually listening to Kathy Wood, and she put together just kind of like her investor meeting or what have you. And she kind of just talked about just the bullishness of the market. Disposable personal income was up 11.5% month to month. Not year to year, month to month, which is crazy. American spending up to 2.4% month to month. Again, another incredible number. Peaked 35%. Savings rate went to 20.5%. It peaked at 35% in the pandemic. It means the consumer has a ridiculous amount of power here. And I think that whether or not the bond yields go up, it's just bullish all the way. I think this is just a regular old pullback. We haven't seen that there isn't going to be a crash, in my opinion. I think it's just going to be a really good opportunity to grab the dip.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is revenue, cash, and how the sort of like the big picture factors impact that. So along the way, there's always going to be things that bring a stock down. And so as far as like what we talk about is figuring out what's actually material, what is material, what is legit. To me, something like bond rates would never be legit. To me, it's like, I understand that's how like they move opposite of each other, but the reality is it's temporary.
Yes.
And so I agree with you in the sense of it presents a buying opportunity.
Yeah.
Which multiple things we've talked about time and time again is to find these opportunities. The question that I ask myself is that going to impact fundamentally how I feel about certain companies? Apple's still going to going to crush it. Right? Like Tesla still has huge growth opportunities. So from that perspective, I'm not too worried about it. There are things I'm worried about more for the long term, but nothing with 2021. So, and then honestly, you can drive yourself crazy trying to play that guessing game and just thinking about what you're in and sort of what we talked about. The biggest thing is to just evaluate your portfolio and see where your risk is exposed and, have a strategy. Yeah,
I would be worried if yields were going up and we were in a poor market. But the fact of the matter is, and people can argue this all they want, the fact of the matter is the economy is coming back and it is on fire. Just from those numbers that I've explained with spending and their savings and all of that. It's not, like I said, it would be a different story if we were in a weak economy. We were going into a weak economy. We're not. We're coming right out of it. It looks great. And so I feel really good about buying the dip here. So speaking of buying the dip, we got 5 stocks that we're watching this week, as always. So if you guys aren't familiar with Stockwatch Sunday, or you're visiting for the first time, first of all, welcome. Hopefully you end up subscribing and hitting that notification bell and liking this video if you're getting value out of tonight's video so far. And give us a shout out too. Leave us some comments down below. What do you think of the new setup? We think we might stick with this for Stockwatch Sunday only, but we love to hear from our crew as always. Let us know. And and also we see that what is that? The Dude. That's almost as epic as like these nuts. The Dude. Welcome to
level 2.
Welcome
bro.
to level 2 to the Chaos Crew. So you've heard us talk about this already this stream. So if you guys want to be part of the Chaos Crew, be a member of the channel. Hit the join button next to subscribe. Link is in the description as well if you can't see it there. But you get a daily watch list from us. And you also get access to our portfolio, which we've done really well on, and all kinds of other good stuff. Access to Discord. There's people here that are in the crew. You can see the Bulls and the Bears next to their names. Don't take our word for it. Ask them. They'll attest to it too. It's just a great place to be. It's a great community to be part of. And being part of the crew helps us just continue to invest in the channel and just bring out all this sexiness that we got going on.
Well said. All right, let's get into it. What do you got for the first stock?
All right. So my first stock, I think it comes as no surprise, is going to be Zoom. Zoom has earnings after hours tomorrow, Monday. The estimated earnings per share are 79 cents and $800 million in revenue. My estimation, Fat Man Zoom, it's $1.12. I got it at $1.12, $850 million in revenue. I don't think that Zoom has slowed down at all. A lot of people are making arguments that demand isn't going to be there. Yeah. Here's the caveat, and you've mentioned this before, and I want to make sure that I give you some credit for this.
You stealing my stock?
Am I stealing your stock?
No. I mean, you told me you were doing this, but I mean,
I gave you the out. I gave you the out. You said yes, I'll take it.
It was like
I said you have every right to take it. I said all these you can take if you want. I have it in writing. But anyways, to your credit, you had mentioned that Zoom had given away a lot of their services for free during this pandemic, and
healthcare and education.
Yeah, and so now I think, in my opinion, despite whatever their earnings might show this quarter, I'm curious to see if they actually come out and talk about, starting to monetize those services that they were then providing for free. Yeah. And that, in my opinion, is just going to skyrocket their profitability. Their margins are still going to do really well. Be curious to see how their outlook is as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. I agree with you. Their past 2 earnings have been epic.
Yeah.
And 2 earnings ago, which Q3 or whatever, they, I guess that would have been Q2, they surprised people. So we saw the massive move.
Yeah.
Last quarter, people expected it. This quarter, we'll see how it goes. But like the numbers were just astronomical. And we've talked about the issue being as far as like, can they continue? Yes, they can. You just mentioned when they monetize education, which we're not going to see that in the numbers now. We still should see a 300% revenue growth, which is insane. So if we can do that, if we can do that, and then they say on top of it, hey, we still see growth because we're going to monetize education, and that's going to hit next quarter.
Yeah.
That's huge. So I'm excited about that. Zoom for phone, nobody's talking about.
Right.
The hardware they're selling, nobody's talking about. So there's a lot more revenue streams, and I'm hoping we hear something. I also think they're going to be doing acquisitions as well. They're going to be spending money. This is new money they're coming into. So either with share buybacks or actually trying to make acquisitions. They've been too quiet for me to not think something's going down.
The bearish argument from some of these analysts, and I get, at some point they were overvalued. I think they're coming to a point to where, yes, they're still trading well above their multiples, but I think it's warranted. And for the reasons we explained, we think that we are ever bullish on Zoom. Don't forget S&P 500 inclusion could be in the mix there as well.
Yeah, and actually I had $1.12 as well.
That's awesome.
So my number 2 is Clover, CLLV. So Clover reports their first earnings since the reverse merger happened, and it has been absolutely devastated since the Hindenburg news. Yeah. Below $10. Their earnings are also tomorrow after hours, loss of 86 cents a share. I just friggin' spitballed it and said Steve King special, loss of 69 cents a share, but it doesn't matter. What the earnings come in don't matter. Everything else matters. So as a SPAC, the $10 number has always been the number. This is insane.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
You're not going to get me off this stock. Like nothing you can do can get me off this stock unless there's some huge news as far as the violation's concerned, but to me, I read their response to every single point made in the Hindenburg report, and I felt like they over-delivered on that, and I felt like their response made sense. So you think about Chamath, his big thing is like social justice and like equity, and he's not. I've got to trust his due diligence in companies, and he's shown. We talked about this with SoFi, the same thing.
Yep.
He may have taken companies that had some blemishes on their record, but that's why he has the opportunity for them. When you think about Clover, what I want to tell you is they expect, on average, 30 to 50% revenue growth every year, each year, until 2026. 30 to 50% revenue growth. They already, as far as Medicare Advantage, because that's their focus, Medicare Advantage, that industry expects to grow 14% year over year, which actually is faster than software, higher than software. They already offer better rates than all their competitors.
Yeah.
So this company deserves to be at 20, 30, maybe even more. Wait till that thing gets profitable. I'm telling you guys, mark my words. This is a Fat Man Zoom guarantee. Clover is going to go off at some point, and you want to be in it under $10.
So just one last thing that I want to mention too, and we've talked about this with Teladoc, and this is why we love Teladoc so much. During the pandemic, everybody is focusing on healthcare because of the pandemic, because of COVID indirectly.
Yeah.
Indirectly, how many people have ignored their cancer screening, some of their preventative, checkups, all that stuff, elective procedures, all of that is still very much on the table. So Clover plays right into that. Teladoc plays right into that. That's just another argument for a bull case on Clover in particular. My next one is going to be Snowflake. Snowflake, I think
What was that? Snowflake.
It's going to be Snowflake. So Snowflake, their earnings are Wednesday after hours. Estimated earnings per share is at a loss of 17 cents. 178.5 million in revenue is what their estimated revenue is. My estimation is going to be a loss of 8 and 197 million in revenue. I just had them under 200, and I think it just kind of goes along with the same argument we were making for Zoom. These cloud-based, especially with cloud storage, is going to be a continued thing. Remote work, all that stuff. People think it's going away. Demand's going to slow down. I think it's only going to speed up. I just talked to a couple of friends today, and they were saying how even their government jobs, they were not being asked to come back to work, and they said don't plan on it. So I just think that this is going to continue to snowball, no pun intended, and become a rather regular thing. Here's the other thing, Fat Man Zoom. Mm-hmm. In the fourth quarter, nearly 100 additional funds, in the fourth quarter, required to file a 13F to add the Snowflake to their investment portfolio. Billionaire Chase Coleman's Tiger Global Management tacked on over 503,000 shares to its existing position in the fourth quarter. So just billionaires, hedge funds are piling into this thing, and they all have the same sentiments as we do. Is Snowflake overvalued? I think that it was. But I think now where it's at is at an appropriate level to buy up Snowflake, and I think that they crush earnings. I will caution that because of the volatility they were experiencing this week, and I should have mentioned this while we were talking about earnings, that I think the play is probably going to be after earnings come out. Yeah. But either way, I think they crush it, and I still feel very bullish about Snowflake.
So what does that mean as far as they're required to file?
If you scoop up more than a certain percentage of the share structure, you're required to put out a 13G or 13F filing.
Buy, and because it was such a large sum, they had to file.
Yeah,
correct. Okay. So I actually have them missing.
Okay.
Loss of 21 cents a share. They missed last quarter, but let me be clear. I think it's only their second earnings.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a huge deal when you miss. I do believe they miss. However, the reason why we actually recently put it on the watch list is because they announced their strategic partnership with BlackRock.
Yes.
And so, and they also alluded to more strategic partnerships in the future. And so that makes me really bullish on them. I agree with you 100% that I would wait until after earnings. Yeah. Here's the other thing to consider. their lockup period ends in March. That's another factor of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to increase tenfold. So their float is going to go their float's going to increase tenfold from 40 million to like 345 million.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your perspective on that because that's huge.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know the exact date. I think it's going to be around March 20th. I don't think they actually tell us a specific date, but it is definitely going to be in March. Do you still feel like you should get in right after earnings, or would you wait until the lockup expires?
That's a great question. So I definitely feel like that's going to be something to consider. So this is a different story than something like Beyond Meat. If you guys remember Beyond Meat, they had a lockup period. The stock went from $40 all the way up to $200 and then came back down and crashed because of the lockup period because it was just a shit ton of shares. This is a little bit different in my opinion because of the amount of institutions that are holding this and that I think plan to continue to hold. Warren Buffett, one of the bigger holders into this company, I doubt that he's going to sell because his shares are available to be traded or dumped or what have you. He's been very vocal on how bullish he is on this, as well as other institutions. You talked about BlackRock. I don't think that there's any willingness to sell just because the lockup period has ended, but of course, it's something to consider.
So I wonder if this is built into the price.
Yeah.
That's what I wonder. And that's what we have to figure out. So what I would say is scaling in.
Yes.
But if this can come down to like 225, if this somehow comes down below $200, this thing is a clear buy in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the chart here and it's sitting, came all the way down and touched around 253. I would venture to say that, we never really try to say, well, if it's come down this far, how much lower can it go? Because it can always go lower. But I would venture to say that if you can scoop this up under $250, you're probably going to be in good shape.
The next stock we have, and number 4 is Penn. So here's the interesting thing about Penn. And I think the theme for today, if I would have to say, is to understand how the market works. We talk a lot about earnings and people get really frustrated because somebody has a good earnings, the stock moves down. What moves the stock? What doesn't move a stock? The reality is that the information you have, if it's already general knowledge, most likely that's been built into the stock. Right. So you need to figure out something that has not yet hit the analyst. And so, for example, like you think about people who are like new traders who are like, oh, it's holiday season, right? Like holiday season, they're going to have killer sales. Amazon's going to crush it. Like, well, no, they're always going to crush it on holiday season, right? Like Disney's Nike's going to do well during holiday season. Like any e-commerce should do well. That should be their best quarter. So understanding that, like you're not going to pull a fast one with like general information that people know. Yeah. But if you know things, or if you put things into perspective that maybe haven't been factored in. So the Amazon example, well, Prime the year before, or this year, it was actually built into the quarter where it wasn't the year before. And understanding that might be different. Yep. Penn has this right now. Penn has something that I don't think the market kind of might know, but when we were doing our level 3 Zoom live trading, when you were doing it, I was listening to Davey Day Trader, Dave Portnoy, talking on Twitter, and he said, we have big news coming this week for Penn. And he alluded to the Wall Street. So it's not like, I don't think it's like Barstool's doing this, right? And it's like an influencer. I think it's something bigger. And so I think this is going to be a big week for Penn, and I don't think the analysts picked up on it yet. The stock did move immediately, which was really interesting, but not a big enough move to be justified. So I'm excited about Penn. It's one we're really bullish on. And the fact that we heard this on Twitter and nobody's really talking about it yet because he didn't say what it was other than we're going to shake up Wall Street. I'm excited about Penn this week.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart here, and one of the big things that took place when everything pulled back, the whole market pulled back because of the bond yields, everybody was flipping out. Penn's really kind of stayed up here above the 110 mark, and I ended up adding a boatload of this to my position on Friday. I know that you are holding a pretty sizable position. Did you end up adding to it on Friday at all?
No.
So either way, you own quite a bit of it too. I think that this has just been an absolute excellent area to grab at the 110 to 115. It's just held it so well, even during some of the turmoil that we've seen from other stocks. Given how far this has moved, you would think that this would be considered a quote unquote growth stocks and piled in with the rest of the tech companies, and it hasn't. It's just held very well. I love this stock. I love the play, and I like where it's at. I think, like I said, between 110, 115 seems to be a good buy on Penn. So for my final stock here, as far as our top 5 stocks to watch this week, it's a little bit interesting. Not one that we've ever talked about before, ever on this channel. But I think it's one of those ones, and we always like to bring these up every once in a while, stocks that just get overlooked. And my stock to watch this week is going to be Turtle Beach. Turtle Beach has earnings on Thursday after hours, so we'll be live for that. And if you guys don't know what Turtle Beach is, they're a video game company that basically has gear, electronics for video games.
Accessories.
For accessories, right.
Yeah.
So if you want headphones, if you want their wireless headphones, controllers, all that kind of stuff. We talk about, we talk about some of the other ones, Logitech and the like, but we kind of forget about Turtle Beach. Their ticker symbol is HEAR here. Kind of makes sense because of their headphones is their flagship product. After hours on Thursday, like I said, estimated earnings per share is 78 cents, which I think is a bit ambitious, but I still think that they could beat this. And I'm going to go out on a limb. This is my bold prediction for the week. It's $1.01 per share based off of what I saw them do last quarter. And you look at how they've done in the fourth quarter. They came out preliminarily and said that they had crushed expectations from analysts, and maybe the revenue comes in at $155 million. If that happens, the stock's going crazy. I think there's definitely possibilities that this could happen. I think that the company has been conservative on purpose. Be curious to see if they actually come in and beat that.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentals look really good.
They have no debt too, which I loved.
Margin looks really good.
Zero debt, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, steady mover. I like, when you brought it to me today, I had never heard of it. And ironically enough, dude, I actually had it at $1.01 a share as well. That's my estimate.
We're just on point today.
So I what I really liked about it when I was looking into it, and I just briefly looked into it.
Yeah.
I like that you don't have to pick a side. I like these type of plays where this is kind of like Roku, right? Like you don't have to pick Netflix. You don't have to pick Disney. You don't have to decide which one's going to be the winner. Just get the one that encompasses all of them.
The industry, yeah.
Yeah, so like Turtle Bay does the same thing. Turtle Beach, sorry. I got my mind other places. Turtle Beach does is the same thing where it's like you benefit no matter what, and we're bullish on the industry, so why not get with the accessories? And so I think this is a great play. It has moved a lot, so I'd be interested to see what happens after earnings.
Yeah.
I would probably wait until after earnings, but I think this is a great play.
I think waiting could be a really great, a really good idea, and I agree. The only thing that I will say is that when you compare it, Corsair was the other company that I was thinking of. When you compare it to Corsair, their chart, you compare it to Logitech, Turtle Beach is lagging those two. So when you compare it to their competitors in this space, now, of course, Corsair has great products. So does Logitech. But Turtle Beach, I think, is really starting to carve their market share. And like I said, this could be one that's pretty undervalued and overlooked.
Depends on what time frame, because it's for the past year, Logitech's up 177%, where Turtle Beach is up 300 and some percent.
Yeah, when you're looking at percentages, for sure.
So we'll see what happens.
I was considering market cap, but
I got you. My bad. I thought you just meant growth.
I should have been clear on that.
All right, well, there you have it. Top 5 stocks. Let's get into the cheesecloth condom stock pick of the week. What do you got?
So I don't have anything as far as direct singular stock as a cheesecloth condom pick of the week. I'm going with the 10-year bonds, the 10-year yield. If you guys think that going into the 10-year yield is going to make you any money this week or the week after or this month, you're sadly mistaken. Warren Buffett even came out this weekend during their annual stockholders meeting and was like, if you're holding bonds, just get the hell out. Didn't quite say it that way. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But I think that if you guys are looking to get into the yields, it's probably a bad idea.
This is really funny. Ivan Broski said, Brad has coarse hair. That's
funny.
a good dad joke.
It is a good dad joke.
Which one of you clowns would win in an arm wrestling contest? The table looks like, this does look like an arm wrestling table. I wouldn't win.
Really? Oh, that's right. You have like a thing about arm wrestling. Don't
What do you mean? No, I just have
I feel like we've had this
rotator cuff.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I thought you had like an injury. That it,
Yeah. I don't have
if
any
you
issues with arm
If you
wrestling.
didn't have a torn rotator cuff, you probably kick my ass. I'm just putting that out there.
This does look like an arm wrestling table.
It does.
Though, for sure.
Like
Needs
over
some
the top?
handles. Yeah. Although we should do that slap.
Have you ever seen you've seen Over the Top?
Hell yeah. Sylvester Stallone, are you kidding me?
yeah.
Give me a hat. What I just got distracted. Oh,
Sorry.
have you seen the slapping contest? We could do a slapping contest.
Could do a slapping
Although that
contest.
might.
That kind of gets the rotator.
Yeah, that might get me too. So, anyways, the next one we have is your top stock under $5.
My top stock under $5 is actually just over 5 cents, and it's Angiosoma. So this is another over-the-counter penny stock. If you guys,
What's the ticker?
It's SOAN. SOAN is a company that is seeking FDA approval for treatment of multiple sclerosis. I can never say that right, or MS for short. So they're seeking this. It's got a really good share structure. They've cleaned up a lot of their debt. It's gone up quite a bit. But what I will say is that I think there's still plenty of upside, and there hasn't been a whole lot of chatter about this. So you can see on the chart, obviously it's gone a little crazy if we look at it on the daily chart, but I still think that there's plenty of upside here. It's an over-the-counter penny stock. Consider the risk, but you guys want these every week, so I'm just giving you one. I think this will probably continue to roll.
Kyle Weber says then we should have a rock, paper, scissors off. We should. We could rock, paper, scissors to close us out the show. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Damn. Yes. I feel like we did that once before, and I won.
I feel like you always pick scissors. I'm going to rock next time, no matter what. So, all right. So there you have it. I want to talk about 3 more top stocks. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I think we need to talk about it.
Sure.
Rocket. We need to talk about Rocket.
We do need. I thought about talking about it, but I didn't know people were going to be exhausted of it. But I'm cool with it. Let's do it.
What I want to mention is, so for those of you who don't know on the chaos, we've been obsessed with Rocket. They crushed earnings like we thought.
Such a misunderstood stock.
Yeah. They offered a special dividend, $1.11, which was at the time 5.5% yield, which is awesome.
Yes.
And they provided great guidance. Everything looked good. Stock went off. And it actually, intraday, went up over 20%, right?
Correct.
It settled down about 9%. What now? I think some people were kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
Where the reality is, if I'd have told you beforehand, would you be happy with 9%? Absolutely, you'd be happy with 9%. So the question I have for you is, does this have room to run? How do you think it's going to perform this week? What are you looking at as far as where it needs to go technically?
I think that dividend's a huge catalyst.
Do we know the date?
Yeah, the ex-dividend date is the 9th.
Okay.
And the payout date is the 23rd.
Okay.
So of this month. So I think that there could definitely be a run up into the 9th.
Yeah.
Man, it's so cheap for $1.11 dividend. That is big for a $20 stock.
Yep.
So I think that there's definitely catalyst there. The stock is also shorted nearly 40%.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense in my opinion. And so I think when you pile this up with their amazing earnings, they beat earnings by 270. Their profit was 277% up.
Yeah.
And this is a company that's been around for 35 years. This isn't some new company. They're just newly public. So that is just amazing. And the fact of the matter is that you look at a company like this and it doesn't get bought up, it just makes no sense. And this is why we talked about it being so misunderstood.
This is a top candidate for a short squeeze. And when the institutions, we said this, when they figure it out, you want to be in it already.
Yeah.
We've talked about it's had a tough time to get over 24. If it breaks over 25, I think it's going to be off to the races.
I agree.
We think this is a $40 stock. Really excited about this. And if the market overall is bullish this week, and we have some excitement coming in. On top of the dividend into the 9th, this should run big time.
Yes.
So
It should.
watch out for that. The other stock is J&J. So J&J got the FDA emergency use approval.
Johnson & Johnson.
And then, and so they are actually approved to distribute. And they're ready to rock and roll. So I wanted to get your sentiments on that. And I've mentioned it a couple times, but I just need to repeat myself for those who haven't heard. I think this is huge because I think they have the infrastructure to roll this out more efficiently than the other companies. Also, the big things about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is, number one, it's one shot.
Yeah.
I want to get one shot.
Yeah.
I don't want to get two shots.
Right.
Number two, the handling. It's only required to be refrigerated, not like under negative 90 degrees is what the other ones need to be. So they need to be in freezing temperatures. This one's refrigerating. For global distribution, that's a big thing. So I know that it's not a big mover, but do you think this could get this moving a little bit more, give it a little bit more volatility than usual?
Yeah, I think it could. Here's the other thing that we haven't talked about is that Johnson & Johnson's capabilities of carrying this out, putting it into the arms of patients, is actually much greater than Pfizer and Moderna.
Yeah.
Their distribution resources are just incredible. So I think that the fact that they can just push this out much faster than the other ones, I think there's a lot of upside for Johnson & Johnson, and maybe people just haven't really realized that just yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it may not happen immediately, but I think that's going to be reflective in their next earnings.
Yeah.
And hopefully they talk about more vaccines. And in general, I think reopening, this is going to happen a lot quicker than people realize.
This is a great stock just to hold over the next decade, honestly. It's not a quick mover, in my opinion. I don't think this is one that you just trade for a short-term swing.
Yep.
Something you just buy and you hold.
The last stock I wanted to bring up was Slack. So Slack actually has earnings this week.
They do on Thursday.
And the only reason I wanted to bring it up, as a reminder, Slack is getting is getting acquired by CRM, Salesforce.
Right.
And so I think that it's happening mid-year.
Yes.
The Salesforce had a bad reaction to that news, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah, because investors thought that.
They overpaid for it.
Correct.
But here's the thing, and I'm not going to take credit for this because I actually was listening to the All In podcast.
Yeah.
And one of the guys on there brought this up. It wasn't Chamath, but they brought this up, and it's actually really, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So he talked about one of the viewers asked a question like, what are the two things you're investing in for the next decade?
Yeah.
And one of the guys said, I'm investing in bottom-up SaaS. And his argument made incredible sense to me. And so if you don't know what bottom-up SaaS is, basically software as a service. So software, a solution, and bottom-up, basically its entry into an organization is through the employees. So the employees adopt it, and then the corporation adopts it. So if you think in the past, historically, you had sales reps trying to sell services to CEOs, and then the CEOs or whoever the buyers were gave it to the company and said, you have to use this.
Yeah.
Whereas now what we're seeing with Slack, with Asana, with Trello, is that Zoom, is that employees are using it and they're like, oh my God, they're loving this.
Right.
Let's adopt this. And Slack is one of the best examples of that. So when you think about bottom-up SaaS, that is what Slack is. When you think about CRM is top-down SaaS. So they are selling to heads of companies. Well, now you have both.
Right.
And I think this is an incredible recipe, and probably one of the reasons why they jumped at the advantage of like even just maybe paying a premium is because you can now enter at both levels. And if you already have an in with Slack, you can get in easier with Salesforce and vice versa. Yep. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know how much we expect from earnings this because everything's a done deal. But if you hear about more adoption, I think that's going to play into this whole picture of Salesforce.
Yeah. So, I mean, people gave me a hard time about Slack, Fat Man Zoom. About
Slack.
how much they hated it. We're talking about it at around $25 a share. I think it's up around what 40 something.
Well, yeah, it's been sitting around there.
And I think I agree. Like the user interface, all that stuff was a bit of a challenge, but I think that the concept, the innovation itself, is where we're headed. You look at Shopify, for example, they love Slack, and basically it eliminates the need for emails because it's almost like a social media platform for your business, and that's how people communicate. So I agree. I think this is something that not necessarily I would look to trade Slack over Salesforce. If I had to pick two, obviously I'm going Salesforce. But there's a case to be made that Slack still is there's still a bullish case for Slack, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the chart, it actually, the only thing that helped it was the news. So if you got lucky to be in it, you got your ass saved.
Yeah.
It has literally just been sideways since it like moved up. It's still below their pre-IPO price, their IPO price, which is, I didn't even realize that. But it's the best thing for a company like this. Like Slack's going to be hard to stand alone, but if you go to a company like Salesforce, that would be great.
Right.
But I am bullish on Salesforce, and I think this is great for them. And hopefully with their integrations, this would make a lot of sense. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like Slack.
No.
Asana all the way.
Yeah, Asana's great. I mean, I prefer Asana, obviously, too. But and we're hella bullish on Asana. But so
Yeah,
any of
Asana's
these
to buy people.
platforms that are surrounded around that technology, that I guess mindset, whatever you want to call it, it's the way of the future.
Absolutely. So that is officially it for our top stocks.
I like it. We have 514 of you guys hanging out in here. If you guys could give us a thumbs up, we certainly would appreciate it. Anything else on the agenda, my man?
Not on the agenda, but I think we should probably address it because a lot of people are bringing it up, which is Palantir.
Yeah.
So there's not anything specific, just asking if we're bullish on Palantir, which I certainly am. It has been beaten down, but your dear friend Aunt Kathy has been scooping up Palantir at a grip, so we feel good about it.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm bullish on Palantir. It's coming down to a level. I actually mentioned in our watch list, we had Palantir on our watch list over the last 2 weeks like crazy.
Yeah.
I said that there's possibility that this come down to around $23 a share. Right now it closed at 24. It did come down to close to 23 or just below it. And we're experiencing the end of the lockup period. Well, the lockup just ended. I think that there's so much upside to this. If you can get this down below $25 or close to that $20 mark, I think you're in really good shape. I mean, ARK loaded the boat on this. By the way, did you know where ARK came from?
What do you mean?
I just found this out today. Yeah.
No.
So ARK, Kathy Wood is a devout Christian. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
She is a devout Christian. And so
Doesn't surprise me.
she named the ARK ETF after Noah's Ark.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. That was a fun little fact.
Oh, that is interesting. The lockup period ended February 18th.
Yeah.
So that's 80% of their float, or 80% of the shares are now in their float. I wonder if this is updated to see where that is at. Yeah, it looks like it's updated. So 1.7 billion shares. So, or 1.07. But yeah, I'll tell you, it's setting up for a great asymmetrical trade.
Yeah.
And I would definitely, I'm already in it, but if I wasn't, I would get, like you said, it's under 24. If it stays under that, I think 22.35 would be my stop. And then it has huge upside.
Yeah, the upside,
Huge
that's what I'm saying. Like the upside based on how far this has come down, I think it's just pretty great. So that's why I like this. One other stock that, I know that you brought your three outside of the ones we talked about. I would like to just bring up Costco real quick, as it has been beaten down. They have earnings, and it hasn't really come back since their $10 dividend. So I think that there's also upside here as well. And this would be another one that I would wait till after earnings to get into or consider getting into. But we like Costco as a long-term hold. Just wait till after earnings. I think maybe even wait till after the Friday payroll report as well. But like Costco, just watch it. I think it's Wednesday after hours, if I'm not mistaken. It's Costco.
Shout out to Kyle for the donation. Keep up the great content. I really enjoy
Thanks,
the
bro.
videos and the watch list. MITI, tell me about it because I didn't know about it. Somebody asked me last Wednesday and I never asked you.
MITI is a company that, so this is another penny stock that we talked about. Still bullish on it. They are, the leadership is basically the same leadership that built up the Minute Clinic that got bought out by CVS for $70 million, $77 million, something like that. They are basically recreating the Minute Clinic, but it's a luxury clinic. They opened one up in Minnesota, I believe. And so they're looking to open up many other locations. That's why I like that one. Healthcare, obviously, we've talked about how bullish we are on that in general. MITI, with the leadership that's in front of this thing, I think they're destined to do some great things.
Yeah, so we gave you guys a lot of bonus stocks. I know you guys have a lot more questions about specific stocks, but what I would tell you guys is we have a live Q&A for our Chaos crew every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to get your questions answered, that's the best thing to do is to join the crew. And then on Thursday, we only answer questions. We're dedicated to answering questions. Yep. Obviously, if you join Discord, you can get in there as well, and you can ask questions there. Our community helps with questions as well. So definitely join the crew. You just click the join button. But also make sure you like and subscribe. We go live every Tuesday and Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And obviously here every Stock Watch Sunday.
That's it, guys. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure, again, if you hit that like button on your way out just to show us some additional support. If you're joining us for the first time, make sure you give us a follow too or subscribe to our channel. And if you want to be a part of the crew, the join button is next to subscribe. Link is also in the description. Fat Man Zoom. Anything else?
Red Bulls. I didn't even realize that. We got Red Bulls.
Finally.
Shout out.
Finally.
That's
Love
it.
that.
I will see you guys on Tuesday.
Fat Man Zoom. B. Smith.
Bye.
We out. See ya.
Bye. I matched the